Okay, so hey, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a voiceover, which is why I don't care about the background, because this will be the only time you see it, I think. Earlier this year, I did a really cool project where I took a picture of my dog and I took a picture of my fiance Patrick, and I edited them together and made my dog ginormous and Patrick like a little tiny little elf guy. It was really cute, and everyone in the house. You okay? Everyone at the house loved it, and they were like, you should do this for the Christmas cards. So I did. I am going a little bit more in depth than I did in the last video on how I did that. This isn't technically a tutorial, but if you do know Photoshop and you want to follow along, you might be able to. So, enjoy. I'm not going to go too into depth on how I actually took the photos. I will say that I spent time making sure that the lighting matched in both, so I would have an easier time with this editing process. I ended up with a bunch of photos that I had to choose between, and as you can see here, it was hard to choose which photo of Koa in particular I wanted to use, but I did end up on this one where he's sitting up. There isn't much room on his back, so you'll see I'll have to make adjustments with that later. Next, I had to make my dog pretty, beautifying my pet. Using the clone tool, I just took out some eye stuff and inconsistencies with his fur that I saw and didn't like. I also fixed his eye white because it was looking a little dark because of the way he was leaning. I did this by just creating a new layer and adding some white on top of it and changing the blending mode so that it didn't look fake but looked natural. Now, taking pictures of pets is very difficult, and even though I had this beautiful little setup next to the tree, of course, the best photo of him was one where he wasn't sitting in the direction I wanted him to. So we got this weird shot of the hallway that I really wanted to take care of. I decided just to make it more blurry so it looked farther away and not like it was right there, just so it wouldn't like stand out. It took me a little bit to get this looking how I wanted to, just because of how many edges and ridges are on like the tree leaves and stuff. I used one of Photoshop's quick selection tools, I think it was the magnetic one, to trace the initial outline, and then I went in manually with a brush that had very fuzzy edges and kind of cleaned it up just a little bit. Also in the background was the plug for the Christmas lights. I just went ahead with the clone tool as well as the content aware fill to get rid of it. And I also made sure to fix where the light was shining to make it seamless. I was about to get started, and then I noticed that one of the bells on Koa's little dangly thing was missing. So I went ahead and copied it from another section and just like rotated it, changed it up a little bit so that it would look a little more natural over here, added a shadow together, and that was that. And next, I am working on the four of us. Now, usually I would do a lot more editing to a photo like this to like soften things, fix things, I don't know, make teeth whiter and everything, but since the photo is going to be so small, I decided it wasn't necessary in this case. So Photoshop has a really cool select tool that will kind of like select out the person in your photo. But I am going to have to go in here and clean it up a little bit, which you will see because there are so many dark colors behind us and a lot of textures, like with my hair especially, that it just wasn't doing a really clean job on selecting just us four. But that's okay, I don't mind going in manually because the Photoshop tool did most of the hard work for me and I just have to clean up the edges. Shout out to Photoshop for having a really good tool like that, because before you had to do all of it manually and it was a pain in the butt. The Photoshop tool had an especially hard time trying to find these antlers, so I ended up having to go in completely manually for this one. Thank goodness this is going to be a very small photo, so you're not going to see all the extra little tiny details, which is good because I kind of rushed this part just a little bit. And since I had to use the picture of my dog where the room on his back was a lot shorter, I knew that this little section right here was going to need to be filled in. This is where the edge of the chair that we were using for the photo was covering me, so I'm using the content aware to try and give me at least a little bit of fill in for this section. I do go back later and finish it up. And now finally the part where my title makes sense. I make us tiny and put us on his back, and you can really see it starting to come together at this point. As you can see, I am hanging off the edge, so I am going to have to go back in and kind of adjust the angle at which I am. It does take a little bit to line it up just perfectly and believably so that everyone's hands are leaning over Koa's back in a believable angle. Now, in order for all of us to fit, I had to tuck Patrick's dad's arm behind this little dangly thing on Koa's necklace. So I needed to add a shadow in there, and it was kind of hard trying to get the shadows to match like the same color and be believable, but I think I figured it out at the end. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Now, to make up for this little gap that there is between Koa's back and all of us, I have to go in and use the Liquify tool, which if you don't use Photoshop, that is the tool everyone uses to make themselves skinnier, because as you can see here, you can move and adjust different portions of the photo without distorting a lot of stuff. So I guess I am Instagram editing my dog to give him a bigger booty. What has this world come to? Finally, we're going to take care of the situation on which I am floating. We're going to start by using the selection tool and kind of separating me from the other photo, giving me my own layer. And next I'm going to move myself so that the angle that I'm at kind of like makes sense. And I'm also going to take this opportunity to scoot myself a little closer to the rest of the group. I am going to have to go in and manually erase using a masking layer all the parts that are kind of like sticking out. This section that is overlapping with Koa's back, and also the section of my arm that's overlapping with Patrick's mom. I go in and I take care of all those little bits. Alright, and back to the shirt. I use the content aware fill to fill in a few little more sections that have revealed themselves, and then I use the clone tool to try and make it a little more believably put together, adding some creases into the shirt so that it flows a little bit better. Again, this is super tiny, so you're not really going to see this, but I did want it to look believable from far away in case we do print this at a larger size. I also go in and add a shadow to where my pants would be if you could see them. Now that we're all in place and I like the way we're angled, I'm going to go in and just clean up the edges a little bit more, especially here on my shirt, clean up my hair, clean up some other stuff around the photo that I'm not going to really show. It'll be a little boring, but yeah. Go around the edges, clean it up with the masking layer and a fuzzy brush. And then I have to go and add a shadow under everyone's arm because I need this picture to look real and believable, and that we are very, very tiny standing next to our large dog, and not that I photoshopped a picture of us onto a picture of my dog. No, it has to look real. I also go in and adjust the lighting and shadows so that they match with the picture of Koa, as well as adding some shading behind the antlers here where they are kind of like over this ornament back here. I also went in and added a little extra shadow on the side of Patrick's dad's face, just because Koa's ear is sticking up there quite a bit. I think it looks a little more believable if there's a little bit of shadow on the side of his face, but not too much because we want to see him, of course. Patrick's hat was looking a little too white and bright for me for where it would be located under the tree kind of. So I went in and just adjusted the settings a little bit so that it matched a little bit more. And finally, I just do some small adjustments, adding a vignette around the side and some other little shadow adjustments, and I'm done. So here is the final product. I love it. It's so cute. I think I'm going to continue to always make photos like this because they're beautiful. This only took me about 2 hours to do. I remember the first time I did it, it took me a lot longer to do. So, improvement, good for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you love it, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up or a heart react. It makes me feel good. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube or follow me on Facebook so that you stay up to date with all my videos. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season, and I will see you next time. Bye!